Imagine the unthinkable. A nuclear war breaks out between world powers. Within minutes, cities are reduced to ashes, millions are dead, and the planet is left reeling from the aftermath. But here's the question we're asking today: could humanity survive? After the firestorms and radiation, is there any hope for a future? In the 20th century, nuclear weapons emerged as one of humanity's most terrifying inventions. We've seen the destructive power they hold, but what happens in the days, months, and years after? What would the fallout look like? And can the survivors of such a catastrophe rebuild a new world, or would we simply be left to perish in the ruins? Let's start by breaking down what would happen in the immediate aftermath of a nuclear war. When a nuclear bomb detonates, the first thing to understand is the sheer scale of destruction. A nuclear explosion is more than just a blast. It generates a blinding flash of light, intense heat, and a shockwave that can flatten buildings miles away from ground zero. This is the initial devastation. But the real nightmare is just beginning. The thermal radiation would cause fires that spread for miles, incinerating everything in their path. People caught in the open would suffer third-degree burns or worse. This isn't just a localized disaster, it's a global catastrophe waiting to unfold. After the blast, the most dangerous consequence of a nuclear explosion is fallout. Fallout consists of radioactive particles that are hurled into the atmosphere and then fall back to Earth as radioactive dust. These particles can contaminate water, soil, and air, making vast regions uninhabitable. The level of radiation you're exposed to depends on your proximity to the blast and the type of nuclear weapon used. But even people who survive the initial explosion could face deadly doses of radiation in the aftermath. If you're not killed outright, the next threat is radiation sickness, which can cause symptoms like nausea, vomiting, and internal bleeding. Without immediate medical help, the death rate is high. Now, imagine that the nuclear explosions aren't isolated. Multiple bombs detonate across major cities worldwide, and massive fires consume entire urban centers. What you have next is something called nuclear winter. It's a scenario where so much smoke and soot are kicked into the atmosphere that it blocks out sunlight, drastically lowering global temperatures. Studies have shown that even a small-scale nuclear conflict could result in a drop in temperatures by several degrees. This could last for months, or even years, creating a nuclear winter effect. Crops would fail, food supplies would dwindle, and a global famine could ensue. The Earth's ecosystem would be under immense stress, and humanity would struggle to feed itself. So, with all of this in mind, what are the chances humanity could survive a nuclear apocalypse? The short answer is, it depends. Some people, especially those in countries with robust civil defense programs, might have a chance if they're far enough from the blast and have access to shelter, food, and clean water. But for the majority, survival would be incredibly difficult. Survival would come down to several factors: geography, preparation, and sheer luck. Underground bunkers, stocked with food and radiation protection, could shelter a small number of people for a time. But how long could you really survive in isolation, and how would you rebuild a society from the ashes? In a world where most of our resources are gone, and the atmosphere is poisoned, starting over wouldn't be easy. Beyond the immediate survival challenges, there's another looming threat: the psychological toll. Witnessing the destruction of civilization would lead to widespread trauma, grief, and mental health struggles. The breakdown of social structures would also contribute to chaos, with scarce resources leading to violence and the collapse of order. In the long term, even if some survivors managed to carve out a life, the psychological scars of nuclear war would persist. Could humanity rebuild its social, cultural, and political systems after such a cataclysm? It's hard to say, but the psychological strain could be as destructive as the war itself. So, could humanity recover? The potential for survival after a nuclear war is bleak, but not impossible. If enough people survive in isolated pockets, and if technology can be preserved in some form, there's always a chance that small communities could rebuild. But it would take generations for the Earth to recover, and a future after nuclear war would be drastically different from the world we know today. Survival might be possible, but humanity would face an uphill battle. The best way to ensure a future is to prevent nuclear war in the first place. Diplomacy, disarmament, and conflict resolution are key to keeping this nightmare from becoming a reality. The threat of nuclear war isn't just a theoretical one, it's a real, ongoing risk. And it's up to all of us to ensure that this kind of devastation never happens. As terrifying as the prospect of nuclear war is, it's a reminder of how fragile our world is. Whether or not humanity could survive the fallout, one thing is clear: we must strive for peace. Thank you for watching. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And leave your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think? Could humanity survive a nuclear apocalypse? Peace begins with knowledge. Stay informed. Stay safe.